Goose. Goose is an AI agent that works right on your machine. It's ready to handle development tasks out of the box, from writing and debugging code to setting up development environments. There's been a lot of talk about AI agents over the last few months, and that's because we think this is where we'll really start to get value out of AI. So what are AI agents exactly? When you interact with chatbots that use AI, like ChatGPT for example, you can ask it how to do something, and it'll provide step-by-step instructions. For example, if I ran into an error while coding, I could paste the error message into ChatGPT and ask it to help me debug. But because ChatGPT doesn't have access to my code base, it will speculate on the cause of my error and give me a couple of possible solutions to try. I then manually try these proposed solutions and return to inform ChatGPT of the results. We'd continue this back and forth until the error is resolved, or I just give up. AI agents greatly simplify this flow by talking with the LLM on my behalf and taking direct action. They connect to the systems that we use, in this case my IDE, and will take the actions for you. Because it has access to my project, it can see why the error is occurring, and then instead of telling me how to fix the problem, it'll do it for me and even let me know everything that it did. So, how does this all work exactly? The agent sits between the user and the LLM. Goose allows you to connect to it with any LLM of your choice, whether that be OpenAI's O3 Mini, Anthropic's Claude 3.7 Sonnet, Google's Gemini 2.0, or even local models hosted on Ollama. The LLM provides cognitive abilities to AI agents, and most AI agents like Goose will have a chat interface themselves where you can type your prompt and the agent will send this prompt to an LLM. At the same time, the agent will also inform the LLM of what it has access to. So let's look at what was happening under the covers when I asked Goose to fix my null pointer exception. So I typed my request into Goose's chat interface. Goose sent my prompt to my chosen LLM and also let the LLM know what tools it has. So tools are one of the most important aspects of agentic AI because they enable the agent to interact with external APIs and execute actions. These tools themselves are essentially functions that interface with API endpoints. In the example I showed you, I added a JetBrains extension to Goose, and with that, Goose now has tools for interacting with code within a JetBrains IDE. JetBrains develop these tools themselves to enable agents to work with their APIs. So here, Goose is saying the user is requesting that I fix a null pointer exception in her user service.java file, and I have tools to read files, analyze code, edit files, and run tests. So it's letting the LLM know what it needs to do and what tools are at its disposal. The LLM analyzes the request and selects the appropriate tool from the list. So the LLM says, oh, you can read the file? That would be super helpful. Do that and provide me with the results. The agent then executes read file and sends the output to the LLM. The LLM recognizes the issue, which is that the DB variable is not initialized, and now selects another tool, edit file, to fix the issue. And notice it's saying, okay, in this particular file, I want you to go to this line number and replace the text that's there with this new text. The agent executes edit file to fix user service.java. It outputs what it's doing to the user and also informs the LLM. The LLM determines that it's a good idea to run tests to confirm the change, so it tells the agent to execute the run test tool. The agent does so, then passes the result back to the LLM, who then tells the agent what to tell the user. So Goose says, I fixed the null pointer exception in user service.java by initializing the DB variable. All tests have passed. Let me know if you need further modifications. That was just the use of one extension, but there's more than 1,000 extensions available, and you can add any of them to Goose and it'll know how to use it thanks to an open standard called the Model Context Protocol, also known as MCP. With this protocol, anyone can make an MCP server that exposes APIs through tools. And you can add any of these MCP servers to Goose as extensions. For example, let's say I added extensions for a dev system, a drive system, and a data system. My agent can now do some pretty interesting things that would otherwise be tedious for me to do manually. For example, I could ask Goose to do something like create a quarterly revenue report based on info in my database, include references to previous financial analysis docs from my Google Drive, and then write that report and save it to my file system. I can also ask Goose to update my API to handle new database fields and be sure to follow the best practices outlined in my Google Docs. So Goose would switch between these extensions to complete the task end to end. Out of the box, Goose comes with a developer extension, which includes tools for things like text editing, taking screenshots, and running shell commands. So before adding any extensions at all, you can use Goose to organize your messy desktop, for example. The GitHub extension is one of my personal favorites. Not only can you get Goose to write code for you, but you can also have Goose do things like create a repo and make pull requests on your behalf. For this one, I needed to add a GitHub API key, and I limited Goose's access to only a few repositories. Goose can even turn ideas into code. Using the Figma extension, you can ask Goose to take a design, and within a few minutes, it'll actually build out the app. Goose is available as both a desktop app, which you've seen, but also a CLI. Here, I've added an extension for Google Maps, which requires an API key. I live in New Orleans and it's Mardi Gras season, which means anywhere that I go right now, I have to be mindful of parade routes. Well, I really want to go to this brewery this weekend to get some amazing crawfish, so I need to make sure I'll actually be able to get there. I told Goose that I want to go there this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. and I asked could it check the parade schedule and route to determine if there will be a parade near there around that time. I gave it the link and then noticed here that Goose uses two extensions to help me. Fetch to scrape the parade schedule and route from the Mardi Gras website, and then Google Maps so that it can get the location and determine if it's on the route. Goose was able to identify the parades for that day and specifically how the routes and scheduling would impact my attempt to get crawfish. So its assessment is that, it's not directly on a route, but it's close enough that you're going to face some traffic, there's going to be some road closures, and you're going to have some trouble parking. And it went as far as to give me some recommendations for how to pull this off. On the Goose website, we have a few MCP servers listed as extensions. Some that we've built ourselves, such as Developer, which can write code and execute shell scripts, Computer Controller, which can do things like open browsers and execute Apple scripts, and Memory, which organizes things that you ask Goose to remember. And then there's some community ones here as well. Like I mentioned, anyone can create an MCP server. There's even MCP SDKs in Python, TypeScript, Java, and Kotlin if you want to turn your favorite API into an MCP server. There's lots of directories out there listing the 1,300 plus MCP servers, but heads up, the quality of them could vary as they aren't all created by the vendors of those APIs. As for LLMs, you can use your favorite one with Goose, but you want to make sure that it supports tool calling because remember, that's how agents execute tasks. There's a couple of leaderboards out there comparing models specifically for use with agents. One is the Berkeley Function Calling Leaderboard and the other is Galileo. Personally, I found that Claude Sonnet's tool calling capabilities are the most effective right now for operating with Goose extensions. But as we all know, the LLM landscape is evolving quickly and getting more advanced every day. One question I'm getting a lot is why is Block open sourcing its agent? And that's a great question, especially when most of the AI agents we see today are vendor specific and locked into a single LLM with tools that only work within their own product. The answer is simple. AI shouldn't be gated. We're a small team and we're incredibly proud of what we've built, but the AI space is evolving so fast, and open source allows the community to collectively innovate and adapt rather than being locked into a single vendor's vision of what an AI agent should be. We're encouraged by the reception we've seen so far with Goose, and we invite the AI community to build with us, unlocking a level of innovation that no closed system can match.